happy you're here with us. You
Thank you
know,
for having me.
I mean,
I'm very excited.
absolutely. This, I'm really, I'm. This is a needed conversation, and when we talked about you coming on the show today, one of the things that's been in my mind for the people that I work with, especially the men that I work with, 2020 has been hard as hell on their career. And,
Yeah.
either people who are in consulting that are losing gigs, people, who are in different kinds of work that maybe lose projects or delayed start on construction type projects, or people who are, essential workers and going, I'm not sure I signed for this shit. You know? And
Oh,
really,
it's been terrible across the
yeah,
board. It's been terrible. Yeah.
yeah.
I-
And
It's yeah.
it just feels like a lot of people, regardless of whether or not their profession it's almost like a snow globe, and it's like all shaken
Mhm.
up and we're trying to figure out how's all this going to, settle out. But it's
Yeah.
caused almost more, even if that's not our experience, it's like it's caused so many people to go, is this really what I signed up for? Is this really what I
What
want
am
to
I
be doing
supposed to
with my time
do?
on
What
earth?
am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
How am I supposed to get through this? And the problem with it is that it's not even specific to a single industry or a single job or even the type of job. It's everybody across the board. So whether you're in the restaurant business or you're in consulting or you're in marketing and advertising or whatever it is, it's been a crap show. It really has been. It's just been terrible, and I feel bad for people. I feel bad for me. I feel bad for my friends. I feel bad for people that I don't know, and it's a horrible, horrible time, and there's no other way
Yeah.
to say it.
Well, I'm hoping that maybe you can give some folks some hope. I'd love it if you would share a little bit with us about like your background and how you come to this business of helping people pivot or find career opportunities that are not only, there to pay the bills,
Mhm.
but also maybe even bring some soul satisfaction along with it. And I also want to add in that if people have questions, I'm actually going to be monitoring the Facebook comment section, and you've been kind enough to be willing to answer questions as they come up. So, folks, if you have questions, Eddie's brilliant. Let's
Anything
take
you want to
advantage of
know?
it while we can. So,
So
for you, what do you
I
do?
give you I give you just a little bit of what happened. My oldest daughter, born October 2014, and to that point, I had been in the professional world like 14, 15 years. Kind of fell ass backwards into a career that was still good, still liking it. And then when my daughter was born, everything kind of changed, and like what I thought was important was not so important. Like work was still important and had to make money and had to pay bills and whatnot, but it wasn't what woke me up in the morning. What woke
Mm.
me up in the morning, I mean, her crying, yes, and the fact that she had to eat and get a diaper changed and all of that, but she became the reason that I woke up in the morning. Um, and then when my second daughter was born, it was just the same thing that happened again. And I'll say that the last 5 years of my career I was not in a very good place. It wasn't, it was not even close to being fulfilling. It was a paycheck. It became a paycheck. And I made the conscious effort. I'm sorry, not the conscious effort. I made the conscious decision to go into a consulting world that I probably shouldn't have been in the first place. I mean, if I asked my wife, she'd probably kick me again. But I made that decision in January 19 and kind of fell into this position that I'm in now. Um,
Mm.
and I think what I learned from my kids to that point, and I mean, my oldest was only 3.5 at the point at that time. No, I'm sorry, going to be 5. Sorry, and my youngest was going to be 2. Was they had such they were so giving to their friends, like not to each other and not to us because they constantly fought over toys, but when friends and cousins and stuff, they were always like, here, play with my toys, play with my toys. And I learned from them, that whole, it's better to give onto others than it is to give onto yourself. And I 100% believe that.
Mhm.
But what I did find was that was what I was meant to do. I was meant to help other people. And I was looking for a job. I was looking for a job and did all this research and started helping others look for a job while I was looking for a job. And it was like, it's an interesting way to get into a career, because you're like, oh, I need to make money and I need to pay bills and I need to do all that. But that overriding urge to help others before I helped myself it was like kind of taking over. So instead of going the route of, okay, do I need to go back into advertising and marketing? Do I need to get another office job? I started doing the research and started putting into practice things of how I could find a job. And did it work? And I found 2 jobs and it worked. So I did this with a couple of the people, they kind of put their faith in my hands, and I helped them find a couple of jobs before everything happened, before the pandemic happened. This was back in December and January of 19, December 19, January 20. So it worked, like for me, it gave me a purpose to wake up in the morning besides my kids crying. And it gave me a reason to do what I wanted to do. And it was like, I guess, invigorating. It was kind of like, a spark, was lit again. And it also, I enjoy it now. Like I enjoy my work again. At one point when I was in advertising, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed working with the people that I worked with, my clients, and helping them and making things happen and making millions of dollars for people. But now I'm in that position where I'm very happy and very content and look forward to getting on a phone call with somebody who, is down because, they were just let go or furloughed or whatever it was. And, part of what I do is not only just, okay, let's write a resume or let's optimize LinkedIn or whatever. It's, we got to change your mindset from despair to optimism. You're not going to be able to go through this process or this journey if you think everything's falling apart. Like we got to turn that frown upside down, and there has to be optimism. Yeah. And I'm optimistic for everybody out there. I know that, the numbers are terrible and it's, it seems like a lost cause, but I definitely know that it's not. There's hard work that has to be done, but it's also self work that has to be done in terms of like turning, again, that frown upside down.
Yeah. Yeah. So often I love the fact that you reference that so much of it starts with attitude. I've often told people, in trainings or classes that I've done that, or when I'm hiring even, that I can train skills. I can't train attitude necessarily, that's harder and not impossible to shift, but harder. And it has to come from an inner desire. What are some, and some of the folks that I talk to are so down right now about their prospects. I mean, they're just kind of, some of them have just kind of given up that I just, there is no positive way forward. How do you help people shift that? How do you help people start seeing things in a different perspective?
They're little wins. I think when it comes to looking for a job, the ultimate win is finding a job, is that employment. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that grandiose, that big win. It's little wins. It's getting somebody reaching out to somebody and getting an email back from them.
Yeah.
And then responding to that email and scheduling a call with them. Those are 2 big wins that you can say that, like, somebody wants to talk to me. First of all, somebody emailed me back.
Yay!
Yay!
It wasn't spam.
It wasn't spam. Somebody wants to talk to me. Even better, you never know what can come out of that phone call. Okay. And so it's those little wins that we have to strive for and build and have those building blocks, as opposed to, I mean, you can't just build a building. You got to build the foundation and you got to build everything else. Finding a job is similar to that. It's building this little foundation little by little and building up and making sure that you accept these little wins now and then that will make you happy. That it doesn't need to be, you know, it's not all or nothing. It's, I'm going to take this little piece and I'm going to build it on this little piece and this little piece and this little piece. And then I'm going to take this little Lego set, be like, ooh, it's pretty colors and they look great. And it makes me happy. And then you build on that and that and that. I mean, what the little things that you can take away from that are practice. Did this work? Did this not work? You know, and what did I learn and what can I apply to the next time?
Yeah.
For people who are networking, it's hard because, you know, I like talking to people. I put myself out there. Not everybody will, and not everybody can. And it's hard for them. And, you know, in that regard, just getting that, just hitting enter on that email is a win, because it's something that you didn't want to do. And it was a scary thing and you overcame that scary thing. So I think focusing on the little aspects of your day, making things happen one day at a time. Yeah. And accepting and smiling because you got that win will create another win, and it'll be easier to get that other win. And so
I like that. I like that. You know, one of the things that I think we kind of are not great at as far as just successes is actually celebrating little things. Celebrating the little things.
I wake up every morning and celebrate the fact that I woke up this morning.
Yeah.
And then I bring my daughter into the living room from her room and put her on the couch, and then she smiles, and that's a win.
Yeah.
You know, like the wins, it doesn't have to be, as I said, it doesn't have to be a grand thing. You finished a bowl of cereal. It sounds weird, but I finished the bowl of cereal. I'm going to move on to that. I made a really good omelet. I'm going to enjoy it. You know, it's little thing. Like it doesn't need to be this huge thing.
You know, it reminds me of that quote. I don't remember the exact words, but, you know, the idea that there's two ways of going about life. One is looking at life as if everything is a miracle, or looking at life as if nothing is a miracle. And it seems like finding that gratitude or finding that positivity or optimism is somewhat similar, that it's almost like a muscle that we flex. And the more we flex it, the more we get used to looking for the good, looking for the joy, looking for the thing to be grateful for in the bowl of cereal, the send on the email, the whatever
it is. I mean, I don't want to say that I was like this forever, because I remember a time that I was not. And it took life to happen for me to hit a basic bottom, where I was like, you know what? No, this is not where I need to be. This is not where I want to be. This is where I need to turn this around. And you turn it around, and yes, that then you get to the overcompensating, like, oh, I made a phone call. Yay. It's like, no, okay, just settle down on the phone call. It's okay. Everybody makes phone calls all the time. But meeting a new person, you know, going to an industry event and introducing yourself when you didn't want to do that, you know, whether anything came of it, you know, they said, hi, nice to meet you. And then that was it. But at least you put yourself in that position to fail, you know? And I think that is a huge thing in my focus, is my willingness to fail has helped me celebrate those wins. Because if I don't fail, if I don't try, I can't win. And I'm probably going to fail, but there's a possibility that I'm going to win. So if I don't try, I can't win. But if I fail, I'm going to learn from it and I'm going to move on to the next. So no participation trophy here. Just
and the idea that you can never get to a yes unless you're willing to risk getting a no.
No.
And if
Mhm.
you don't ask, it's automatically a no. If you
Right.
don't try, that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, kind of concept.
Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott.
Yeah. One of the things I'm curious about, trying to tie this back to spirituality, and to me, so many people do connect like their what they see as their sole purpose, or what they hope their sole purpose to be, along with their profession. And sometimes they
Mhm.
are, they do go hand in hand. Other times it
They
might
can.
be how we show up for whatever we do might be part of our sole purpose.
Yep.
But I've certainly, and you've already mentioned that you have been, but I've certainly also been in jobs that just feel like they are sucking my soul dry. I mean,
Yeah.
just like soul crushing jobs versus those that make me feel like I'm like on fire from the inside out, and
Mhm.
just like
Yeah.
make my soul sing.
Yeah.
What do you notice are some of the distinctions, between the soul crushing versus soul affirming kinds of careers or professional opportunities?
So on an outward, it's smiles. It's sitting next
Mm.
to somebody or sitting, on a commuter train or whatever it is, and looking at faces and seeing this, or seeing like happily on their phone, or whatever it is. The people who are just look like they're absolutely miserable, they look like they are dreading doing whatever they're doing. And more times than not, it's because they dread going to work. They're not waking up with that purpose of like, I'm excited to do what I'm doing. The people who are excited to do what they're doing, you can see it in their face, you can see it in their mannerisms, their posture, their, everything about their external look screams, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. Um, for me, you get into the purpose of waking up. Like, am I waking up because I have to, or because I want to? And once you get into the I have to, it's time to start reevaluating what you're doing. I talk to a lot of people all the time about, they've been out of work for 3, 4, or 5 months. And I say to them, there's a difference between having a job because you need money. And yes, I get that. I understand that. We all have to pay bills. But there has to be something that you're passionate about, that you're happy that you're going into your job. Because if you're not, 6 months to a year, you're going to be right back in the same position, because
Mm.
money is money and you're going to make the money. But if you're not striving for the thing that you want, why are you going to do it? I mean, it's the same thing with relationships, with your partner who you get married to. It's the same thing with your friends. I mean, it's not the same thing with your family because you can't pick your family, but even still, you can pick who you want to hang out with. But
Mhm.
you're going through that process of picking the person and picking the thing that you want to do to make you happy. If you go out and buy a television and you want a 65-inch television and you settle on a 27-inch television, you're not going to be happy, and you're going to look at it and go, I hate you. I want the bigger television. So, you know, putting in that work to try to find that passion, you know, is what we strive to do. And it might not, you might not find that one perfect role right away.
Mhm.
But if your passion is to be in industry X and you can get into industry X, at least you're in that mode of like, I'm learning what I want to learn. I'm in the position that I want to be in. I could parlay this information and this knowledge into my next role and next role and next role. So it doesn't necessarily need to be, again, the grandest win, you know, little wins here and there, you know, going into a certification class and getting a certificate in the field that you want to be in. That's a win. You now have more knowledge than you had before. Reading an article and talking to somebody on, say, LinkedIn about it, that's a win because you're learning more about it. So I think it's those little things, but it has to be your passion. It has to be something that you want to do, and not necessarily just something that you are going to settle on, because you wouldn't settle on a partner. You wouldn't settle
Mm.
on, the house that you live in just because, if all things being equal, this one I like, this one I don't like, why would you go in the one that you don't like? So becomes
We're motivated by
a choice.
money to do a lot
Yep.
of things, and when and I know it's difficult to talk about taking money off the table, when considering the house, the partner, the the job, whatever, because we're such a money dominated and money driven society that to even think, let's take that off the table now, for a lot of people goes, oh, what the, what do you mean take it
I
off the
can't do that.
table?
I can't do that.
That's
Yeah.
the only thing
No,
that
I
matters.
keep,
But there is something too when that's not the driving force, when we
mhm,
can create the freedom for money
yeah,
not to be the driving force and create the freedom to allow what does light me up, what does
yeah,
make me happy, where can I find joy, to be worthy also, not just, value dollars, worthy, but that this stuff has worthiness too and has
right.
value too. I was talking to someone recently and, talking about situation and because of money stuck in a situation that was, perpetuating misery. It's like, how much is your happiness worth?
Right. And it goes beyond work. It goes beyond your
Mhm,
job. It goes,
mhm.
if you're stuck in a marriage that is not fulfilling, you make the decision of whether or not to stay in the marriage because of whatever reason it might be. You have kids and you don't want to break up that family. Is it is the misery worth it, um to stay with the kids, to do that? So is finding a job that is not what you want to do, but it's going to pay you a little bit of money, is that worth your happiness? Is it worth smiles? Is it worth not smiling? And
Mhm.
that's the thing. It goes beyond, sometimes it goes beyond just the money issue. It goes beyond your mental health. It goes beyond your mental health. It goes into all of those things that wake you up in the wake you up in the morning, get you out of bed, get you through the day to get to bed at night. And if you're in the position of constant misery, that's going to take a toll on your brain. It's going to take a toll on your health, on your physical health. You know your That's
Yeah.
weight gain and all of these other things that are going to just um, keep piling on the misery, because you're like, oh, now I don't feel well. Now I'm at the doctor's. Now I
Right.
have to do this. Now I have to do that. And the pot like smiling is the easiest thing to do. It really is. Like how many muscles does it take to frown, and how many muscles does it take to smile? Like it's Smiling is just,
Yeah.
it's a natural thing. It just happens. Your face just does it. And
I
forcing
will
yourself.
admit,
There you go.
go ahead.
No, I
Yeah.
was going to say
I will
forcing.
I will
I
admit I've smiled my way through some soul-sucking jobs.
Yes,
Nobody
yes.
would have known that they were
Nobody would have known.
soul-sucking because, man, I put on a happy face.
Yep.
I'm really good at that and build other people up in the process. But when there comes a time when I go, whoa, I can't carry this anymore. It's like I have to
Right.
get out now. Even if I've got nothing else to go to, I got to get out now. And I've had a couple of those situations where it's just like, and it's not like I'm a wimp about stuff.
No.
I can carry a lot, but when it hits that breaking point, I know that I got to go,
Yep.
like right now.
I, I don't, I mean,
And
I carry stress the way that I carry it. Everybody carries it differently, whether it's in your shoulders, get oily skin, or, weight gain, or whatever it is, that it becomes a burden. It becomes a lot for you to like get through the day, and to add that, to add more stress on top of stress is like, why would you want to do that? Like there's got to be something that you take a step back and you say, all right, listen, there's things in my day that I need to make a change here or there, and make sure
Mhm.
that I can get through this 1 hour and smile. A lot of times I'll talk to somebody who's looking for a job, and they're like, all I do all day long is apply to jobs from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep. I'm like, well, when do you do something fun? When do you? I can't do anything fun. I'm looking for a job.
Fun.
Hold on a second. hold on a second. You got to do something fun. You got to take time for yourself. And you got to make sure that you could relieve that stress, because Rome wasn't built in a day. Gone are the days where you apply on a Monday, hear from them on a Wednesday, start on Friday. Like those days are gone. They're gone. And it's a process and it takes time. And it's time that you're afforded. You got to take a step back sometimes. You do it in happy times. You do it when you're fully employed and making a lot of money and doing all this. And then you take a step back and you're like, you know what? I need time to myself. I'm going to go for a walk.
Yeah.
Well, you could do the same thing when you're unemployed.
When
you're stressed, you're allowed.
Well, and I love that you say this, because in my way of viewing the world and viewing opportunities, everything is energy, right? And when we are holding, higher vibrational frequency energy, this is just my language, how I talk, then we have an opportunity to actually attract or even magnetize opportunities to us that are in alignment with that higher way of being. When we're depressed, down, refuse to take time to try to have any fun, surrounding ourselves in misery, it's like an energetic block to the exact kind of opportunities we're hoping to magnetize or invite in.
Right.
And so I love that you say that to, even though the full-time job right now might be looking for a job, that trying to infuse the day with some joy, with some self-care, things that are going to make you smile, that are going to be good for your body, your heart, your mind, your soul, whatever. But that could actually be part of the job seeking strategy, and maybe is a really important part of it if things need to shift. Yeah.
I think about it the same way that when I was in high school and I had a crush on a girl and she didn't have the same crush on me. And it was like a miserable time because you're 16, 17 and it's a terrible time anyway. But like you go through that day and say to yourself, she doesn't like me, and go like this. And like your shoulders are hunched. Who's going to want to talk to you? Like it's hard for people to get excited to talk to somebody who's not wants to be engaged and doesn't want to be talked to, and they just look like in that miserable state. And it positive. We told my friend Chris all the time, because he was in that mode, and we would call it PMA, positive mental attitude. Like change your attitude into a positive mental attitude, because I don't want to talk to you right now. You look miserable. Yeah. And it's like, okay, PMA, turn it around. Let's go. And we still use that. He's married now, 2 kids, great job, and he's happy. But we tell him all the time, it's like, do you remember that time that we had to basically tie you down and just yell PMA in your ear for like days? It was like an intervention of days. But it's true. Like your positive mental attitude will have an impact on what the world sees on the outside of you, which is why I said, when you're on a commuter train and there's the person sitting in the corner hunched over and like miserable because they don't want to go to this job that they want to go to, sitting next to this person who's like on their phone and doing stuff on their computer and like reading the newspaper and just lots of energy. It's like, there's a huge difference. Who am I going to want to talk to? I go up to the person that looks miserable and say, are you okay? Right. And then talk to the person next to them and go, you got to give me some of your energy because I'm like lacking. It's a huge difference. And I don't want to say good things come to those who have like good energy, but it kind of makes sense. Like once you accept that things are good things can happen. Now, that's not to say that you expect bad things to happen and good things will happen, because they will. I mean, I am a full believer in the right place at the right time, talking to the right person about the right thing will have the right outcome. But at the same time, I can will it a little bit. I can give that fate a little push and be like, you know what? I'm positive going into this. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm going to talk about. I know I'm strong talking about it. Good things are going to happen. Like out of this today, if I talk to one person, that's great. If I don't get to talk to anybody, but somebody hears me say PMA and accepts that and brings that into their lexicon, I'm great with that too. Like the end goal doesn't always have to be what your money making thing is or what your job is or whatever it is. I think the end goal should always be somewhere in that, did I help somebody today? Did I leave a positive impression on somebody? And I did. Great. I'm good
It's
to
about
go.
impact. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
about
about
impact.
impact. Let me make sure that I have a positive impact on somebody
Yeah.
in the tiniest little way. That's a tiny win for me. I'm going to build on that tiny win. So, hey, bring it back full
Love it.
circle right there.
And I have okay, so four questions are floating around in my mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Rapid fire.
number one is especially for folks who have now either for months or years been trying to find the next thing, the next, consulting opportunity, the next client, the next full-time job, the next whatever. If it's been months or years and there hasn't been movement, what do you recommend? It seems like change is needed. I shake things
Change
up,
is needed.
perhaps.
Yep.
What do you recommend in situations like that to kind of help jumpstart or help shift out of a rut?
So what I always ask anybody that I work with in that situation, tell me what you've
Mhm,
done. Write down
mhm,
exactly what you've done and show me what you've done. Once they do that and I'm reading through it and we're talking about it, I hate to be blunt about it, but this doesn't work. Okay?
mhm,
You see what you did and you see that nothing came of it. So now it is time to recognize that what you did, accept it, learn from it, and move on, and kind of change it and tweak it. And maybe everything that's on that list is what you're comfortable with. Well, now it's time to start shifting the mindset into an uncomfortable position. Uncomfortable that
mm,
you're going to fail, that this is not what you want to do, but it's something that you need to try it. It's in the I come from the direct response world, which is the 14.99 products that are crappy, like a crappy broom or whatever, buy now and get a second one for free or whatever. The concept of like, and this is probably true to like consulting and all of that, the concept of A/B testing. You
mm,
test out one thing and you test out a second thing, and whichever one works, that's the one you move forward with. Well, if
mhm.
you're testing all of these things and none of them are working, it's time to test something else. And
Yeah.
there's nothing bad about testing, because you don't learn unless you fail, and you don't fail unless you test.
Mhm,
So, you know, if this didn't work, it's not a reflection on you. It's just that that's not what you were supposed to do at that time. Let's move on to the next. There's always something else that you can do that will help you get to the position that you want to get in. And that is beyond looking for a job. I think that's true in anything. Like there's always something else that you can do. So writing it down and recognizing what you did or what you tried and what didn't work, and accepting that it didn't work, and being open to, okay, let's kind of tweak this just a little bit, because a lot of
mhm.
times it might not be that the strategy failed, the execution may have.
Ooh,
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
gotta you gotta look at it and say, okay, if I change these, we're human beings. Human beings are very finicky about what words they read. So, like, what word did you use in that email? If you used a different word, you may have had a different outcome, and you wouldn't know that. Like that's where that comes into play, is like like looking and analyzing and reading and changing,
Yeah,
and then seeing what works.
yeah. I'm only giggling because anytime I use the word topless in a Facebook post, referring to my Jeep not having a top on it right now, but that catches attention.
Yeah,
I didn't realize
exactly.
that in the beginning. I'm like, oh, your mind went there. But I'm thinking in terms of resume. Not sure I'd want to use that word. Not sure that would be the one. Which leads me to the second question I had, which was obviously in a competitive job market, especially right now in just these wild times, it seems that positioning yourself is incredibly important. And so how do you work with people to make sure that they are painting themselves in the absolute best possible light, with honesty, of course, and integrity, but realizing that how people look at resumes, how people think about cover letters, all that kind of stuff has changed over the past
Yeah.
15 years, the past 5 years. So how do you help people bring out the very best of themselves?
It's hard because the way that you bring out the best part of you is to look deep inside you
Mm,
and recognize what you have and what you don't have. Recognize your pros and your cons, and to highlight the pros and to accept the cons of yourself. And it's hard because people don't want to do that. A lot of people want to paint by number. Here's my resume, here's my cover letter. It's the best of me. That's what it is. But it goes beyond that. Like, if you're not accepting and honest with yourself, it's hard to bring your best self forward. So there's a
mhm,
lot of conversation that I have with people that it has nothing to do with finding a job. It has nothing to do with what industry or what market they want to live in. It has to do with, well, give me three of your strengths. And like, don't tell me that, you're a good listener and you're a good communicator. Like, be honest with yourself. Like, what is a strength of yours?
mhm,
The way that I answer that question is, one of my strengths is I want to help you. That's my strength. It doesn't it doesn't seem like a strength that would get me a job, but my own personal strength is I want to help you. Like, I want to be selfless
mm.
in this situation. Like, I know my other strength is like gardening. Again, not going to get me that job, but but what gardening gives me is the idea of excuse me, um, being patient and not
Mm,
procrastinating and putting in the time and effort. Like, there's everything that those things are just as important as me knowing a program or knowing how to build a website or something along those lines. Those are skills that you can learn. You talked about, learning skills and not whatnot. But the things that really that make you special, that make you um, that are your true strengths. That's what you have to focus on. Bring those to the forefront. We can
mhm.
put words around them and make it sound good, but you got to be honest with yourself about what you bring to the table. And it goes beyond the programs and that specific industry knowledge. What about you is what makes you special?
One of the things that I've noticed with folks that I've worked with in the past is that it's almost like there's a blind spot around that exact thing. That the
Hmm.
things that are their strengths are just so normal to them or so natural that they don't see it as being anything special.
Right.
Oh, well, can't everybody do that? Well, no, not everybody
No.
can do that. And to me, that's one of the benefits of working with a coach or working with a mentor or someone else, someone who can actually serve as that mirror for us or see our blind spots when we're not even picking up on this thing you do right here. This really matters.
This
This
matters.
is really valuable to other people.
Mhm.
Um, is that one do you find yourself in those conversations sometimes
All the
with your
time.
clients? Yeah.
All the time. All the time. I mean, it's something as simple as like just reading through a resume and saying, having another set of eyes on the resume and saying,
Yeah.
I would, this this looks strong, but if you move this word to this position, it's that much stronger. And they say,
Mhm.
didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
You start talking about, in this climate, in this market, there's a emphasis on soft skills more than hard skills because everybody's remote. Like, are you a self-starter? Are you a good communicator? Things of that nature. Be that's Those are the things that you end up focusing on that you don't think are important.
Mm.
It's, well, they need me to know X, Y, and Z. Well, yes, they did. But when they talk to you, they're going to learn, they're going to see that you know X, Y, and Z, but you give them also UVW,
Yeah.
because you know this about yourself. And this is the strong point that you have to make about yourself to whoever you're talking to.
Yeah.
Um, it's a conversation I have every day with people
Hmm.
beyond, yeah,
This
every
is
day.
not related to job necessarily. My daughter is a senior in high school. And so she's thinking, career path and which direction do I want to go and where do I want to go to college and blah, blah, blah. And writing college application essays and scholarship essays, I've been fascinated to watch this process and to have the opportunity for her to bounce ideas off me. But like, for example, she wrote a paragraph the other day about being on the swim team. When do other people depend on you? And she talked about being on the competitive swim team. Well, all the kids on the team know their strokes. They all do.
Yeah.
They all have the skills. Some are a little bit better, butterfly versus, freestyle or whatever, but they
Mhm.
all know the strokes. The thing that I noticed with her sets her apart a bit is she is so full of enthusiasm for her teammates. She's the one that's cheering them on, and I mean just going out of her way to be encouraging and uplifting and supportive and make them feel good about themselves and their effort. And I mentioned that to her. She was like, "Do people care about that?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
That's a
Yes.
leader.
Yes.
That's a leader. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the difference between a leader and a manager. That's the difference between a leader and a boss.
Yeah.
Is the leader has to be the cheerleader. It has to
Yeah.
be, not only are they, in charge of everything, but they have to be the one that brings the team up.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what a leader does. Yeah.
And she didn't even see that as being worthwhile or something that, that other people would care about. And
Mhm.
so sometimes it just takes that outside perspective
Yeah.
that is she the fastest swimmer on the team? No. But in a lot of ways, I think her contribution is so valuable because she is so encouraging and helpful of other people. So thank you for just kind of jogging that memory.
No problem.
To kind
That's
of
what I'm here for.
pull back to the idea of kind of spirituality and divinity and all that jazz. I'll be honest, when I'm looking for for jobs or, trying to land clients or whatever, there's a whole lot of prayer that goes into my effort. I'm like, I could use all the help I could get here.
Oh, yeah.
Um, how does that play for you, or how do you see that in an appropriate role? I mean, because it's a pretty personal deal. It's not something you're
That's
necessarily
personal.
going to throw on your
That's
resume.
a person. Yeah, no, that's a personal thing. It's not something that, I mean, I grew up in a Catholic household and religious
Mhm.
instruction, and you prayed on Sundays. You went to church and you prayed, and then you're supposed to say prayers every night, and you did all this. And as you get older, you start to form your own opinions on things, and it is what it is,
Mhm.
and everybody has their own thing. And I said earlier about I wake up in the morning and it's a win. And you say thank
Mhm.
you, and whoever you
Yeah.
say thank you to,
Mhm.
um, is going to be the important part for yourself. I don't want to. There's no. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying a little prayer here or there to whoever you need to say a prayer to.
Mhm.
Um, I think without anything else, I think it gives you a sense of positivity,
Yeah.
which I think is sometimes, obviously positivity is not going to put money in your pocket, but it's going to help you in the long run. It's going to help you with that smile, and it's going to help you to be in a position where you can do the work. Being a professional, I think, is something that you know you wake up to do it. Like, part of being a professional is doing your job on the days that you don't want to.
Ooh, yeah.
You know,
Mm.
it's something that I read a long time ago when I played baseball. I still think about it today. I have it written down somewhere in this in this mess. But yeah, being a professional is doing your job on the days that you don't want to, and I think that positivity that comes from just saying, thank you, or you know, could use a little help on this, just to
Yeah.
whoever you want to ask. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with it,
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Um, it is a personal thing though. So you kind of walk that kind of that
Mhm.
edge of like, well, do I ask? Do I not ask? Like, is it, you know,
Yeah.
but it comes up, and I have no problem with it. I have, I'm a believer in God and the Big Bang Theory. So you know,
Balance.
I'm, spe- I'm, I believe in the afterlife, and I believe in science. It's what it's how I get through the day. And I'm not going to
Mhm.
poo poo anybody for getting through their day one way or the other. So I think when it comes down to it, it's a personal choice that you um, can't hurt. Thanks, or could use a little help.
Yeah.
You know, doesn't
Yep.
hurt.
Yep. It, it seems to me, I've always kind of been of the belief we operate in a free will zone, and which means that it's kind of like the prime directive with Star Trek. I'm such a nerd. I always bring in, my science fiction references, but it's like, don't jack with other people's sovereignty. Assistance can be there if it's asked for.
Yeah,
And asking for assistance to open a door, grease the skids, whatever,
yes,
like you said, it just doesn't hurt. And if it
doesn't
helps
hurt.
to add a sense of confidence or positivity, or hey, just a remembrance that, you know, there's actual help that has your back, even if you can't see it, that, why not?
I mean, that's what networking is. You think about what
Mm,
networking is. It's reaching out to somebody, having a conversation, at the bare bones, like having a conversation and seeing if there is a mutual help that can happen. And
yeah.
I say to people all the time, I'm like, use your network, talk to people, reach out to people. They might not reach back out to you, even though I
Mm,
think that it's one of those basic concepts. Human existence, just help other people. Like that's what we're taught from little kids. It's like
yep.
be respectful of others and help others. Some people just don't want to do it, and you're going to find out of 100 people, maybe you'll talk to 5 on the phone.
Hmm.
It's a small percentage, but those are the 5 people that you should talk to, because those are the 5 people that want to talk to you. And not everybody wants to, but
Hmm.
it's being a good person, and that's what I think networking with, I only network with good people, because those are the people that want to talk to me. And I feel like those are good people. So
I love it. I love it.
that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Well, now on to question number 4. So last
Okay.
question, and you kind
Last
of
question.
almost touched on it. You
Okay.
started you started the conversation with, you know, how'd you put it? I believe in God and the Big Bang Theory, you
Yep.
know? And I'm like, "All
Yep.
right." So, opening the door,
Mhm.
what from a spiritual perspective, with the recognition that this particular show really is geared toward helping people see that, the well-paved path to the pew is great for some people, and yay, that's fantastic. And for others of us, it's kind of that messy, dirty back road that, is winding and meandering, and anywhere in between is fine. Is fine.
That's fine.
So where are you in this? What do you believe?
I'm a paved road that turns into a dirt road that leads to, you know, a
The beach.
a paved driveway. No, so as I said, yes, I believe in God. I believe in God, and I believe in Big Bang. I believe in evolution and dinosaurs roaming the earth, and cavemen, and all of that, and Adam and Eve, and an apple and a serpent. Like. But then I also believe in choice. Like I believe that one of the things that, and I to get religious and stuff, one of the things that God did give us was the ability to choose our
Mhm.
own path. And whether that is believing in God, or believing in science, or believing in both, or believing in neither, I think you have the choice. Everything that you do is down to choice.
Mhm.
Do I say yes or do I say no? Do I go right or do I go left? You have a choice to do all of those things. To bring it into a idea of finding a job, do I work hard or do I just sit back and wait for something to happen? You know, do I accept the fact that I have to work hard, or do I accept just the idea of, okay, I'm just going to let it come to me? And I think that's going to be that's what ends up happening with more people than not, no matter what it is, whether it be trying to find a job, trying to find a partner, trying to find, whatever it is. it always comes down to choice. And you do have a choice of whether or not you want to work hard or you want to just sit back and say, hey, universe, bring it to me. I'm not going to do anything. I mean, that's the choice you made, and I talk to people who all they do all day long is apply to jobs on job boards, and you give them a simple statistic and they say, yep, well, that's my choice. You're absolutely right. 100%. That's your choice.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know if that works out for you or not. Because then I can give you a couple of other options that you can choose from. So the bottom line, yep, believe in God, believe in science, believe in both, believe in neither, but understand that you do have, I believe in choice. And I don't think that any choice is necessarily wrong. Open-mindedness, I believe in. I mean, I think that beyond choice when it comes to spirituality, I think open-mindedness,
Mm-hmm.
I think, having conversation and being respectful of what other people feel or think or believe, like nobody's right, nobody's wrong. And when you tell me that my opinion is wrong, nope, you're wrong. I don't
Yeah.
have to agree with it, but it's your choice to believe that what you think is right. And I respect that and I understand that. And that idea has cost me friendships,
Mm-hmm.
has cost relationships, has probably cost me money having
Mm-hmm.
that idea. But it's your beliefs and your ideas. Your beliefs are what makes you, and your ideas are things that you can choose from and change and will influence your beliefs. But once you can choose what you want to do in life, and you can choose who you talk to, and whether you go left or right. It's all about choice.
Yep. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
And I appreciate you making the choice to join us today on Dirt Road Divinity. Sincerely, I'm greatly appreciative. I
Well,
think the
thank you for
topic
choosing me.
absolutely. Well, I hope we have an opportunity to have more conversations in the future. Now, if people are in a situation where they do need to maybe make some choices or some
Yep.
different choices, are needing some career guidance or maybe some insight on how they can position and present themselves in a way that's more, um, just possibly open more doors. How can they reach you?
So
How can people get in touch with
you could anybody can get in touch with me on LinkedIn,
you? Mhm.
linkedin.com/in/Eddie Wilders, EDDIE WILDERS, all one word. All of my information is there. You could email me at eddie@ewilders.com. I'm very, very much into my name, apparently.
It's a good name.
Um, Facebook, I think it's just Eddie Wilders, and there's, pictures of my daughter as my profile picture.
Mhm.
So you don't see this ugly face, you see my cute kids.
They are adorable,
Uh,
by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think they're on a hammock. So if you see, yeah, I think that's me.
Kids on a hammock.
Um, you know, and I'll also say if that none of that works, you can get in touch with Lisa and she can point you to me.
I will direct you to
Um,
the right place.
yeah, I also have a website that's not very modified, not very up to date, but it has information on there, and it does link to an email at it's elruadvisory.com, elru advisory, and the elru is my daughter Ella, and ru is my daughter Ruby. So
Nice.
elru
Nice. Nice.
elruadvisory.com.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'll make sure to include all of that information in the notes
Great.
that go along with this episode. But I appreciate your time. And for all of you who are watching or listening, I really appreciate your time as well. If you have
Me
any
too.
questions, please feel free to reach out. And if not, then I look forward to engaging with you next week on Dirt Road.